Projector Room podcast with me and Gareth. Hello, Gareth.
That's me. I'm Gareth. Hello, Ted. How are you?
Hello. I'm all right, thank you. Ticking along, can't complain. And we'll save our complaining for the grand return of Tech Addicts on Sunday week, shall we? Which everyone has been waiting for that to come back because it felt like a long break. So
everyone
in the whole world and their mums. In the meantime, Projector Room is where we're at, and it's show 202, and it's the 21st of January in 2026. GarethMyles.com is where you'll find Gareth. TedSalmon.com is where you'll find me. Projectorroom.co.uk is where you'll find our website for this particular project, and the MeWe group. Links to all of that at TedSalmon.com and our other audio podcasts, which we just referred to one a moment ago about, didn't we? Let's get into the news. This new news section, I've had no feedback from anyone as to say whether they want us to have a news section or not. So until we do, we'll carry on.
Is that why you didn't put anything in? Right, okay.
I don't know any news. It's down to you, your department.
All right. Well, I figured I'd start off with a cheery note because Timothy Busfield has surrendered to police in New Mexico after child sex abuse allegations were brought against him. He apparently sexually abused two child actors on the set of Fox's The Cleaning Lady. I'm being somewhat upbeat about this story, aren't I, whenever it's not really a very happy story, to be honest. Timothy Busfield, you probably know from a number of different films. He was in The West Wing for a good, I think maybe actually all of it, although I haven't seen all of The West Wing. Sorry, Steve. He's married to the actress Melissa Gilbert, who was in Little House on the Prairie
Girl. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He was also in that show 30-something. That's where I first knew him from, because my brother used to watch that when I was quite young. And I recognized his face from that, and he's just turned up in tons of movies as a highly reliable character actor, and child sex fiends, it would appear. So, he had previously been accused of sexual assault by two women, one back in the 90s, one in 2012. So he has a bit of a track record for being a bit of a deviant.
Being accused of being a deviant.
Yes, sorry, I should, yes, it's worth saying that they're horrible lies.
Don't hang the bloke before he's been actually put on trial. And there's also this whole thing about, being really careful in his profession. If people want to, there is a backstory to this with these two boys that apparently their mum, he dropped them from the last series of that show you just mentioned. That is the backstory, and there is some suggestion that she is, being revengeful towards him and making this up. Yeah. Of course, more allegation, but there's nothing. The point I was going to make was that when you're in a profession like that, it must be really. I'll give you another example. If I need to go and use the public toilet in Tesco, I no longer go into the gents one. I go into the disabled one. Because I fear, to be honest, going in there and there'll be a lone little boy in there who's going to make some allegation against me. And I'm afraid that's the world we live in now. And I'm not saying that this bloke is innocent. He might not be. But it must be very, very difficult if people have got agendas around you and you've just got to Apparently he drove about 4,000 miles to go and get arrested. He was saying, yes, arrest me. I'm innocent. You arrest me. Do what you like. Anyway, sorry, I've hijacked your news item.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Absolutely fine. Best of luck, Timothy. Ted's rooting for you. So if you need any, support, then Ted will be there if you need him. I don't know what the latest on this actually is, because that was back on January 13th. These things tend to move quite fast in America, so it's possible there could already be an outcome, but I just haven't seen it yet.
Right. Okay.
But Yeah, it's sad to hear that can happen so easily to someone, and it's sad that it does happen in Hollywood to the level that it is happening in Hollywood, and it's very easy to point the finger at someone, and it's very difficult for them to be able to prove that it's not true.
Indeed,
if it's not true.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Next up is a bit of exciting stuff for those who are fans of Lord of the Rings. I do say exciting, but it's Peter Jackson actually dismissing the extended mithril cut of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Peter Jackson has definitely debunked rumours of an extended mithril cut of Lord of the Rings, stating that there's no substance to the rumor that there's unused footage that exists. So it sounds like he has put everything that he had, save for maybe, gaffes and stuff, into what's there.
What's a mithril cut?
I don't know.
Oh,
I'm
right.
not a big Lord of the Ringsy type person, but I figured this was an important thing, because a lot of people are big fans. And I know whenever there's big films like this, you do get a lot of alternative cuts, bloopers, and behind the scenes footage that exists, and you can see things, where they was it like, let's say something like Event Horizon, which has a large amount of missing footage that is now deemed lost. They could tell from, the internet sleuths could tell from various different images and things like that other stuff was shot, and they can try and build an idea of what was going on, given the materials that are available now, stills and shots and script details and things like that, and other actors who have said that they were filming this and filming that, and maybe it didn't end up in the finished film. And they can put together that there's more. So they want more, and for some reason people want an XL edition of Lord of the Rings, which might be...
Apparently mithril is a precious metal from Middle-earth.
Oh.
If that helps at all. I don't know, I just thought I'd mention it.
No. But there was a belief that because 2026, I think, marks the 25th anniversary of the first film,
right?
Fellowship of the Ring.
Okay.
That was the one that came first, yeah. So they were hoping that there was going to be some sort of big release coming out. But instead, there's a new Lord of the Rings film scheduled for Christmas next year, 27, I think, called The Hunt for Gollum. Which I don't think is based on a book. I don't remember there being a book of that, but that hasn't stopped Amazon producing their own series. I can't even remember what that was called, but I don't think people liked it very much, to be honest. But yeah, have you seen Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit?
I kind of have. I watched the first one right the way through. I watched the second one until I got fed up. I'm not sure that I've seen any of the third one, but it's not, this kind of fantasy thing is just not my thing, really. Perhaps I'll get back to it. That bloke looks just like I did. Well, not just like I did, but very much like I did when I was about 30. Peter Jackson in that photograph we're looking at on the Collider website. Very similar, except I was a younger version. I didn't look as old as that, but he reminds me of me.
Okay, well, you should maybe go back to Bad Taste or something and watch that and see if that looks like you when you were back then. Derek don't get scared, or Derek's don't run away, or something like that. I can't remember. Have to watch Bad Taste again.
Right.
Yes. All right, the last exciting story is that there are 2 Simpsons-related films in development. There are 2 distinct film projects inspired by The Simpsons in the works. One of them is a direct sequel to the 2007 feature film that we already know with Spider Pig. And the other is a surreal adaptation of the stage play. I'll let that settle with you for a second. It's called Mr. Burns, a post-electric play, which is being adapted into a film by Boots Riley, who is a director that I am not familiar with. It's an adaptation based on Anne Washburn's stage play, which reimagines the Simpsons episode Cape Fear, in a post-apocalyptic world. And have you seen that episode? When
I saw you put this in the show notes yesterday or the day before, I went and watched it and reminded myself I was familiar with it, and it is pretty much, well, half of it is a kind of reenactment of the second Cape Fear film, the remake, particularly where they all disappear on the boat, and Sideshow Bob is playing the Robert De Niro character. But I had no idea about any of this. Mr. Burns, a post-electric play, which they reenact that episode in 3 different time periods. Immediately after, 7 years after, and 75 years after an unsuspected apocalyptic event. So presumably that's on the stage somewhere, is it?
Couldn't tell you. It was originally produced in 2012 and has been recognised as one of the best American plays since Angels in America.
Right.
Angels in America, which I haven't heard of, to be honest. The film adaptation is expected to be surreal and artistic, and that doesn't sound too engaging, for The Simpsons. You kind of know what to expect when it comes to The Simpsons. But yes, that episode of Cape Fear was quite good fun, especially he stands on the rake and goes...
Yes, it's so funny when he keeps standing on these rakes and never learns. But the first one that you spoke about, I didn't realise. I thought it was just this Mr. Burns thing. So there's actually a sequel coming as well, is there, to the original film? I'll be more interested in that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I've got a funny feeling that this other thing is going to be an extra on the DVD of the sequel.
Yes. Yeah, I like The Simpsons, though. I do visit The Simpsons quite often, and, late night with a beer, one episode before turning the lights off is quite good fun.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a long time, though. My son is ploughing through all 30-odd seasons of it. It's so easy to watch, and it's in the background whilst he's doing everything. I suppose whilst we were growing up, we had like Pink Floyd or something playing in the background, doing your homework. He has The Simpsons on in the background.
Right. Yeah, I do find that The Simpsons has got less duff episodes than Family Guy, because I've done similar to your son. I've kind of gone through the whole lot of both of them. And I do think that there are, as I say, with Family Guy, there are more episodes I kind of read. And, shall I watch that? No, skip over it. It's silly. With The Simpsons, it's probably not quite so much the same. Anyway, each to their own. Right, let's get on to some feedback from the MeWe group and our lovely listeners. Chad Dixon is first with Marty Supreme, which is a 2025 film, which we put into coming soon, I think, the last show or the show before. I'll link in the show notes to Chad's full review, which is on my blog. In Josh Safdie's latest comedy drama, Timothée Chalamet delivers a solid heavy lifting performance as Marty Mouser, a 1950s aspiring table tennis star from this is the table tennis one, isn't it? From Manhattan's Lower East Side. Desperate to fund a trip to the British Open, Marty's ambition leads him from his uncle's mundane shoe shop into a whirlwind of fraught decisions and calamitous situations. The film captures a gritty, authentic mid-century New York filled with fast-paced dialogue and New Yorker accents. Chad highlights the film's rip-roaring pace as Marty navigates a rough-and-ready world, encountering everyone from low-level crime bosses to a glamorous film star played by Gwyneth Paltrow. Beyond the drama, Chalamet's dedication shines in convincing competition-level match scenes. Chad notes that while the story throws constant curveballs at its protagonist, the result is a highly entertaining, atmospheric watch. He concludes that Chalamet's presence in nearly every scene further cements his status as one of the most gifted actors of his generation. And apparently, according to Chad, he had to learn table tennis to a certain level to play some of those scenes out. So good for him. That's an excerpt from his full review, which I say I'll link to going forward. But we did that in Coming Soon, didn't we? So the table tennis reminded me.
I don't recollect it inside it. No, I had to go through it there and have a read at the storyline. Actually, on IMDb, where you get the storyline, and I had to read at that to see what it was. It's only one sentence long, so I was able to do that in less than 5 minutes. There's the plot keywords, and I think they're quite interesting because you've got male rear nudity, male nudity, bare-chested male, man spanks a man, and ping pong.
Right. Okay.
So that might summarize this movie to some. I don't know if it'll summarize it to many, but ping pong's in it.
Yeah. It's very good.
I do love a good sports movie, though. So, and also it's a period drama. So, sounds interesting enough. I don't think we featured this at all.
I thought we did, I thought we did it Coming Soon. Anyway, I'm probably wrong. But I do remember something about the table tennis thing. Anyway.
Fair enough. Excuse I. Okay, next up, John Trimmer has written in about I Swear. Based on the true story of John Davidson, who has Tourette's syndrome, this follows his story, from being a teenager right up until present day as a campaigner for the condition. Great performances all round and a good soundtrack too, as the story spans the 80s and 90s. Some laugh-out-loud moments, and a fair bit of heartbreak too. I'm a sucker for a British movie, especially set in the 80s and 90s, so definitely recommend it. Thank you, John. My wife also watched this as well the other night without me, and she adored it. She sat and told me everything about it, including all of the plot lines and things like that, so I feel like I've seen it. But yeah, it's a new movie directed by Kirk Jones and written by Kirk Jones and starring Robert Aramayo and Peter Mullen. Oh, no, you can't beat a good bit of Peter Mullen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Have you seen this?
I somehow don't fancy it. It is on my watch list because it's kind of around. I don't know. I need to watch a few more trailers and stuff to convince myself. I just don't fancy.
I always got a feeling that you really enjoyed like a sort of, because this is it's a mental health issue.
Yeah.
Isn't it, Tourette's? So I feel that you always like those sorts of things.
Kind
where
of.
It gets inside mind.
But I think you've ruined me because you've made me a horror fiend and a terror fiend and blood, guts and gore, and anything that's kind of a bit like this is like too boring and ordinary now.
You'd prefer if there were chainsaws in it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure I'll get to it at some point, though. But thank you, John. Robert McCrown is next on How to Train Your Dragon 2025. Many would have seen the cartoon version of this delightful children's story, which basically gives the message that rather than killing each other, it's better to get to know the other side and work together. This is the latest version with real actors and dragons, so brings the story to life. The outside shots are filmed in the Faroe Islands and Iceland and are breathtaking. Incidentally, he says it's worth sitting through the credits to see even more of that. The cast work together well, and hats off to the animal trainers for what they get those dragons to do. Yes, thank you, Robert. I got the pun. I don't think anyone else did in the MeWe group, but I did, I assure you. So How to Train Your Dragon. I guess that you might have seen the cartoon version. What year was that? It was some time ago, wasn't it?
I haven't seen them. And I think it was a TV series as well, but I know that Jared Butler was did the voice of, I don't know, the dragon or something.
Oh, right.
And then he's in this, isn't he? He plays a part. So,
oh, right, okay.
I don't know how it all fits together. My stepdaughter was very excited about these over the years.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go then. There's an opportunity for you lovely people, courtesy of Robert.
Okay. Well, the last one we have is from our finale, who has watched Downrange from 2017, which is on Shudder and Amazon Prime Video as well. Stranded, which I hadn't actually clocked. It's on Prime.
Ooh, yay.
Right. Because my Shudder subscription ran out just after Christmas there, and I want to try it. I have to wait until next month to get it to go again, because I want it to go from the start of the month, so I get a full proper month out of it. Stranded at the side of the road after a tire blowout, a group of friends become targets for an enigmatic sniper. 19 minutes doesn't get you a lot of character development time, sadly. I was genuinely interested to see how the situation would develop and what the motive was behind the sniper's actions. What we get. Sorry, the thing has just opened up over the top of the show notes, so I can't read it. What we get, we do get some answers, but watch out for plot holes, and some of the characters' actions do leave you wondering. But to be fair, the ending is quite an unexpected one, and worth it. I'll give it 55%. Fair enough. This looked quite good. I remember it coming out, but I never got around to watching it. I do like these sniper-y type movies. There's a particularly good one called Blooded. That was a British one that I've been wanting to see in 1080p. I have it on DVD, but I don't know if it was released on Blu-ray yet. It was very good as well. And then I actually reviewed one on my site as well, which I can't remember what it's called either.
Not doing very well
but yes,
today.
sniper films. Sniper films are very good fun when they're kind of pinned down with nowhere to go. And this looks like a fairly decent entry. Have you seen this? This actually looks really familiar. Maybe
I watched
about
it.
The trailer or coming soon.
I think it's a 2017-18 film, so we might have covered it in the duration of the show, but I don't remember it. But after Irfan put it into the MeWe group, I went and watched it this week. And I did a review. I'll link to the review that I did in the show notes. But I pretty much agree with what he's saying. Really, it's very kind of claustrophobic, and there's tension and stress in the situation. And you don't. I don't know if it's a spoiler to say. No, perhaps I shouldn't say that. But there's a grisly finale, and it's worth waiting for to see the end of the film. But yeah, there's interesting music going on, and there's there's quite a lot of gore going on. And this sniper is just basically picking off these really annoying teenagers. By the end of it, you're saying, yeah, get them all. They're so annoying, but it's quite claustrophobic. As Irfan says, there's no character development in any of them. So what you see is what you get. Is a lonely road, a sniper, a car, and about six or seven teenagers, I think it is. And he's just trying to pick them off one by one. They find that there's a space behind the car where they can get away from the line of his fire. And so, there's quite a lot of tension going on. It's worth watching.
I have seen it. Yeah, I've just watched through the trailer while you were blathering on there. And it was all right. Yeah, it was pretty good. Right. The film I was referring to was Under Fire, which is more of a buddy cop comedy. You'd hit it.
Yes, I probably would. But Blooded sounds like it might be an interesting one as well. So There you go. Thanks very much for your feedback, everyone, and suggestions for watching and little reviews and all of that stuff. Let's get on to our new section on the show, introduced last time for 2026, Fandom Focus. And I guess it's your turn.
It is, yes. You did Dick Van Dyke last week. So I'm going to have a wee go because I was quite excited to see that. I think it's Indicator. No, it's Umbrella. Umbrella, the Australian 4K and DVD boutique label, are putting together I'm remiss to say this because I don't want people to go and pre-order it because I might not get mine if they run out by the time they come to fill my order. But they're doing a beautiful big version of No Escape, the old Martin Campbell action movie where Ray Liotta plays a prisoner who is sent to an island in the middle of nowhere, a prison island, and he has to survive. And there's two warring factions. There's the good side and the bad side. And he goes into the bad side and then moves over to the good side, and he has to go back to the bad side to do this, that, and the other. And it's a corker of a movie. I love it. It's just a really cool movie. It's actually one of the things I noticed about it is there's no women in the entire film, and I think that's novel. I don't think I can think of any other films where there is no female characters.
Oh, right. What's it called again?
No Escape.
No Escape, right. Okay.
From 1994, I think it is. But it got me thinking about Ray Liotta and how, he is by far and away my favourite actor. And I think it's quite interesting to work your way through his filmography because he's played everything. If it's out there, he's done it. And he never really got the credit that he was due. Everyone goes, oh yeah, he's class in Goodfellas and Copland and all the big hits that he had, but they never quite take the time to go and investigate him in little films like Street Kings 2, Motor City was quite a good one, and Inferno, which was I'd say that was one of his first direct-to-video films whenever his star kind of faded a bit after the likes of No Escape. When they went, no, you don't have what it takes to be the leading man. But he went and made a few direct-to-video films like Inferno and there was another one around then, it's not Pilgrim, Phoenix. And they were really good. He was brilliant in them because he was still, firing on all thrusters, trying to, be the leading man. And then he kind of settled back into just being a reliable character actor, and he was able to not have the whole stress of the mantle of the film on his shoulders. He can just sit back and relax and perform. And he became one of the best character actors we had. Every now and again, he would do a leading role in something fun. Say for something like Turbulence. Turbulence is, I think he would even go as far to admit that it was crap, but he just had some fun there. And it really is just a shits and giggles movie. Have you seen Turbulence?
I don't know.
That's where he's on a plane. He's a prisoner on a plane.
He's
escaping the island.
There's quite a lot of those, isn't there? Turbulence. What year is that? Roughly?
It was like 1998 or so.
98,
yeah.
Turbulence. Oh, here it is.
I think there's
Turbulence.
3 of them now.
1997.
97. Yeah. That was the same as Copland. One good film, one fun film.
Doesn't ring a bell, no. I don't think I've seen that.
Oh, okay. But then, you look through his career, and every year's kind of divided down into, he does one for, his art because he's an actor. Every year he's got some sort of big, proper performance. And then he does another, bit of a laugh, bit of fun, something stupid. Direct-to-video action film with Cuba Gooding Jr. or something like that, or Christian Slater. But, he's still, I think he's happy to do those sorts of things because he's still in the cinema giving a dynamic performance as such and such alongside Stallone or De Niro or Brad Pitt or Ryan Gosling or something like that. He was able to move from film to film. And I think he's just a working actor for you to sit down and study. All of his films are pretty much available. And that's one of the things that you can't say about so many different actors out there. Right from the word go, whenever his first big film, which was Something Wild in '86, he had made a couple of things before that, but Something Wild was his first kind of starring role. Everything after that is really easy to track down and see. I suppose it's a bit more difficult now in streaming worlds, but if you're looking for DVDs and that sort of thing, you'll be able to find everything that he's in. And I'm just looking, going, no, there's nothing that's really evaded me. But I will have watched everything that he's ever made at some point. But I'm taking my time now, because we won't be getting any more films from him, because I was very sad whenever he passed away. But he just has such a huge body of work to work through. Do you have any highlights or any films that are particularly memorable that aren't Copland, Goodfellas?
I was completely unaware of his name until I saw Hannibal, and I was so transfixed with the work of Thomas Harris that I just loved The Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal and Red Dragon and all that. And he popped up in Hannibal as this cop alongside Starling, who ends up getting his brains eaten by Hannibal. But he was
himself. Does he not eat his own?
Yes, yeah. Hannibal feeds his brains to all of them, but. The point is, though, that until then I didn't really know his name, and then I suddenly knew what his name was. And then looking back, I can also remember that I was quite a big fan of Unlawful Entry, and then when I remembered that, and I could picture him doing that Unlawful Entry film, and say, oh yeah, of course, it's the same bloke. So I hooked into that. I have to admit, though, since then, the only films that I've seen, and I'm trying to look down the list to see if I can name any one of them, have probably come from you banging on about him. He was in Marriage Story, wasn't he? Marriage Story was really good, and I spoke about that on the show as well. But I can't remember who he was in that. He wasn't one of the...
He's the lawyer.
Oh, is he? He's one of the two lawyers, was he? Okay.
Yeah.
Cocaine Bear I've got lined up. That sounds like one of the ones you're describing as a right old laugh. We'll have a giggle with this one.
Yeah.
And 1992, that rings a bell. What's that?
I reviewed it on the show because that was his last big film. It wasn't his last performance, but it was the last one to be released. And it was going out in a high. 92 is really good.
And according to IMDb, Wikipedia, there's actually quite a lot of television he's done as well, and he's voiced video games, and he's worked briefly in theatre, and he's done tons of stuff, hasn't he? He's got awards, and he's even been in music videos for Ed Sheeran and David Guetta, whoever that is. So yeah,
fair enough. But I forgot about that. That's right. He did Tommy Vercetti in Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's
the lead character now.
That wiki page you linked to, actually, there's tons of information in there. Very good link there is. Cool.
Not everything's there, but some of the highlights I would say you've got to track down. Dominic and Eugene was, well, I suppose Something Wild, absolutely. Then Dominic and Eugene was his first really dramatic performance. It's an unheard of movie, but a lot of people, anyone who has seen it will absolutely, you'd like it because Tom Hulce is in it. You're a big fan of Amadeus, aren't you?
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. Tom Hulce and Ray Liotta play brothers, and it's just a beautiful little drama. Field of Dreams, he's fantastic in that with Kevin Costner. Obviously Goodfellas. Article 99 is a wee bit like MASH. It's that kind of vibe. Then there's An Awful Entry, as you mentioned, and No Escape. Unforgettable is one that I would actually recommend. I think it's an underrated, I'm not going to say it's classic, but it's very underrated. He's really good in it. He's the lead character, where he's a man who he's developed this serum that allows him to be able to see the dreams of other people by injecting part of their spinal cortex, whatever, into himself, and he's trying to solve the murder of his wife at the expense of his own health. And I think it's a really tense little movie. I think John Dahl made it, from The Last Seduction and Jade. No, not Jade. Something else. Was it Jade? I can't remember. But yeah, those would be some of those early highlights. And then there's Narc and stuff like that, and Heartbreakers as well with Gene Hackman. Identity's a good one. Loads more. Smoking Aces. He's got the best role in Smoking Aces and one of the best gunfights in an elevator ever committed to celluloid. Yeah, go for that.
Yeah, certainly lots of stuff in there. Cool. Okay, so that was your fandom focus, and you certainly are a fan of his. Let's move on to the flop of the fortnight, and I'm going to throw in flop of the fortnight, Predator 2. And the only reason that I've kind of tried to watch some of these Predator films was that we have got in private screening coming up Predator Badlands, and Chad Dixon was talking to me, and I said to him, if I'm going to watch Predator Badlands, do I need to watch any of the previous films? And he said it would be a good idea to watch Predator 1, the one in the jungle, and Predator 2, which is the one set in Los Angeles. But unfortunately, I think that the one in the jungle was okay. I remember that from years back. I hadn't seen Predator 2.
Okay.
Well, yeah, it's not really my kind of thing. This is what I'm going to come to, really, is that the Predator 2... I think is much weaker because they put this creature and they stick it into Los Angeles somewhere. They put Danny Glover in the lead role, which everyone seems to think is just a miss. Chad Dixon said it definitely wasn't as good as the first Predator film, and I've always been surprised that they chose Danny Glover to be the lead human role. Still, at least it allowed the late Bill Paxton to hold the unique distinction of being the only actor on screen killed by a Terminator, as an alien xenomorph, and a Predator in different films. He's getting like you, isn't he, Chad, in knowing all these little facts. Anyway, so I watched Predator 2, and I just thought that it was... I don't know. Danny Glover just didn't seem to be... in it, really. I didn't really enjoy it that much. I thought that the jungle one, at least it was arguably reasonable because this Predator thing was in the jungle and it was in the middle of nowhere, and it felt like they put this creature into almost like a buddy cop movie, which, it felt at times like it was an episode from Chips or some other buddy cop from the 80s. Cop show from the 80s. And I just didn't buy it. It just didn't seem to be, it seemed like, and also the first half an hour of the film was just complete chaos. Well, the only reason that they were doing it really was to show, to give the picture that Los Angeles was, run by drug gangs, and these gangs were just kind of out to kill everyone and each other. And that just went on for far too long before we even got to even getting anywhere near the Predator involved. Anyway, I just thought that there was that going on. And like I was saying about King Kong on the last show, the actors, most of them, in fact nearly all of them, just felt as though they were actors acting. They didn't feel like they were properly, in these days where we're used to actors actually being convincing, and these people weren't. These hardened criminals in these gangs, for example, they just looked like actors in makeup and costumed up. Not convincing. I just think that it was not a very well made film, personally, and you're now going to slate me for it.
Not at all. You're entitled to your opinion. It can be silly, but it's an opinion nonetheless. I am a big fan of the Predator franchise. I always have been. It's been one that I watched since I was a teenager. And the first two Predators were, gospel to me. There was Alien, Aliens, RoboCop, RoboCop 2, Terminator, Terminator 2, Predator, Predator 2. They were almost holy texts to me. I loved them. And one of the things I loved about Predator 2, because I'm big into my direct-to-video actors and things like that, is the cast is just so damn good. If you have a look down it, you've got Danny Glover, Gary Busey, Robert Davi, Bill Paxton, Adam Baldwin, Ruben Blades, and more that I can't sum up now. But it's a late 80s, early 90s smorgasbord of great great names from film. Was it masculinity? Names of masculinity. But the Predator films did sort of start to wane after that. The third one was all right, and the fourth one was a bit crap, although it had Tom Jane in it, which helped prop it up a wee bit. But Predator Badlands.
We'll come to that in a minute. We'll come to that in a second, won't we? Because we're going to talk about that. The other thing I forgot to mention about this was that it wasn't at all scary, whereas I remember the first one in the jungle. No. It was actually scary. And the scariest bit, I thought, in the whole film was when Danny Glover was creeping along the edge of that building, and it was like a scene from Vertigo, and my knees were trembling at that point. That was the scary bit.
But they applied the same logic to Predator 2 that they did to Aliens, because Alien was a horror movie and Aliens was an action movie. Predator is almost a horror movie. It's more of a survival kind of horror movie, or an animal attack movie kind of thing. And then Predator 2 is a big slam bam action movie. Yeah. The climax of Predator 2 just keeps going. And there's action sequence after action sequence, and I think that's why I loved it so much. And then they kind of lose their way after that because they don't have the grand scheme or idea. They're not looking to make a tentpole movie, whereas all those holy trinities or holy duos that I was talking about there, they really knew how to do that, be bombastic and take over the box office.
Have you seen Killer of Killers?
That's one of the new ones, isn't it?
It's the cartoon, the animated one, which is the one that's prior to Badlands. Have you seen that yet?
No, I haven't. There's a couple of animated ones that came out recently, wasn't there? There was Killer of Killers. There was Wastelands or something came out as well, unless that's a knockoff or something.
Killer of Killers. I just thought that it was once we got it's staged in 3 different timescales. The first bit is when is set in Japan, or is that the second bit? And then the next bit is set somewhere else. And then the third bit, which is about halfway through the film, is set in 1941. And it's about the this guy who's fighting in World War II, and it suddenly came to life there. But before we get to that, I want to leap into private screening, because I challenged us to watch Predator Badlands, which we were always threatening to do, partly because Chad Dixon had done a full review of this and was interested in our views on the film, and he submitted one of those audio reviews for us to plug into the show at this point. So that's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to plug into the show his audio. We'll listen to that now, and then we'll come back with some comments about what he said. So back in a second.
Predator Badlands, a guest review by Chad Dixon. After being at the helm of a superb prey in 2022 and the well-received Predator Killer of Killers earlier this year, an animated anthology feature that I have not seen, director Dan Trachtenberg has definitely re-energized this epic franchise. Now with Predator Badlands, he gives us the 9th installment of the series that started back in 1987, but this time it's set off-Earth and with no human characters. We start the story on the Predator's barren home planet of Yatuja Prime, where shorter-than-average Yatuja, Dek, is a disappointment to the bloodline of his clan, so is constantly trying to seek the approval of his domineering father. While on board his much taller elder brother's Kwai ship, he boasts to his sibling that he plans to travel to the notoriously dangerous planet of Jenna and hunt the ferociously unkillable creature known as the Kalisk. However, when their father dramatically arrives on his speeder outside, he ignores Deck's protestations and unanimously decides that, as the runt of this family, death is the only honourable outcome for his youngest son, and orders his brother to do the dirty deed there and then. At the last second, Kwai disobeys the order and pushes his younger sibling back aboard the ship and locks him there. For his dissent, he pays the ultimate price as his father executes him on the spot. However, the eldest son's final act is to remotely send his spaceship with grieving brother trapped aboard to fly autonomously to the planet Jenna. Shortly after crash landing in a lush forest and narrowly escaping the clutches of some giant carnivorous vines, Deck comes across the trapped top half of a talkative synthetic human who calls herself Thea, Elle Fanning, who, through her programming, immediately understands his language. He frees her and decides she may become a useful tool for his quest. We quickly discover that as well as Deck, the Kalisk is also being hunted by the Wayland Yutani Corporation, and Thea is just one of an extensive team of synthetics sent to this planet to acquire the beast for medical exploitation. With the lore of both symbiotically entwined now, I have been a big fan of both the Predator and Alien franchises since day one, and this film certainly moves that symbiosis forward to the greatest degree yet, and doesn't disappoint, as it packs in a lot of the best things we love about those films. This one is basically an alien-android buddy film. It's set in an impressive alien landscapes with many fantastically designed flora and fauna, immaculately rendered, which we discover to be virtually lethal to any outsiders. Newcomer Demetrius Koloamatangi, at 6'3" tall, is definitely the shortest actor to take up the lead Predator role as Deck, and he is almost in every scene. Speaking completely in his own language throughout, with nice bold subtitles, he still manages to convey lots of emotion, even through all that amazing makeup and prosthetics. Fanning is excellent as the relentlessly upbeat android who is desperate to be seen as more than just a tool. Look out for a number of memorable homages to both franchises, and although the action comes thick and fast, it's definitely not overdone in relation to the storyline. The 1 hour 47-minute runtime feels bang on, and the final scene sets it up nicely for a 10th film in the franchise.
Thanks, Chad. So those that I got Gemini to do a summary of Chad's review, which was the following. In Predator Badlands, director Dan Trachtenberg continues his successful revitalization of the franchise by taking the action off Earth, set in the Predator homeworld and the hostile planet Jenna. The story follows Deck, a runt of his clan, who is spared from execution by his brother, only to crash land in a deadly alien wilderness. Now, the first 20 minutes of this film, it bored me shitless, frankly. It was just like, it was just these people were punching, kicking the shit out of each other, and it turned out to be these two brothers. Then Dad turns up and takes over, and then brother makes way for other brother, and blah blah blah. And the whole thing just was, I thought, oh, for goodness sake. Anyway, after we'd finished with that scene, I think that when Elle Fanning turned up, she turns up as half a robot, and I thought that was done really, really well. And she then carried the show, and it felt like it was more well, at times it felt like it was more like a Disney film, to be honest. But it wasn't quite as bad as that suggests. But But I think that she turned it around for me. Her character turned it around for me. The fact that she was cut in half and a robot was done really well, as I say. There was lots of bizarre creatures going on and fantasy-filled forests, and but going back to what I was saying before, really, I think it felt more like a computer game, a console game, than a film at times. But anyway, I think that she injected some humour, and it just, it turned into a kind of witty, almost adventure. And one minute it was this lush forest, the next minute it was this kind of barren landscape, and that worked quite well. It was obviously the CGI was done really well, but I was towards the end it turned into a bit of a Transformers film too, as you will have noted, that suddenly someone gets into this machine and it turns into a Transformers robots in disguise, and I thought, good grief, not again. Anyway, this is never the kind of film that I would seek out. It really isn't. But because it was on the table for the show, I did watch it. And actually, I realised that the further I got into it, I was enjoying it. I thought it was done really well. And the as I say, the Elle Fanning character made it for me. And it was good. It was a good adventure yarn. That it was they had to make their way across the landscape to get somewhere to do something, and that was really all good. And I enjoyed that. And I ended up being quite pleased that I was forced into watching it, to be honest. So it kind of broadened my scope a bit. Chad was mentioning also about the visual ambition and the pacing, and the whole the deck character, as you all just heard. But anyway, I wouldn't have gone and watched it, but having had my arm twisted, I actually ended up being quite glad I did watch it, and I did quite enjoy it, and I'm going to give it 10 out of 15. So over to you.
Yeah, well, I will say that this is my least favourite of all of the Predator films, and that takes into account Shane Black's The Predator. I didn't see any reason why this needed to be live action, to be honest, because of the amount of CGI on play throughout the entire thing. I did feel like as you say, was sitting watching a computer game, or a pre-title sequence in a computer game or something like that you would get with massive amounts of CGI. I did get drawn into it, and I have to say that I was surprised, because I didn't really like this after the first 20 minutes of the wildly outrageous stunts and people swinging around and being thrown left, right, and centre. And I just thought, this is just going to be a big superhero type movie. Mm-hmm. I also was a bit concerned because, initially and growing up, the Predator was the baddie. And now all of a sudden the Predator is becoming the hero because he's kind of cool. And that really, I find that difficult to stomach. I'm not adverse to it happening in certain things, but, there are, can we just have our baddies? Like the Alien in that recent TV series, the Alien wasn't the focal baddie. It was just an entity in the background that was useful and something to fear. But I have worries that in the future they're going to become buddies with it, and they're all going to go out and get coffee together and, spend the evening together, go to the cinema and hang out and stuff like that. The Predator, I couldn't imagine that happening. But I understand that the mentality of the character is that it's a hunter first, everything else afterwards, and it just does what it's doing. Yeah. And it's not necessarily a baddie, it's just a hunter. Mm-hmm. So, I like it for that, and I guess that kind of softened me as I was going along, going, all right. I wouldn't say the character was particularly cool or well-rounded in any way to make it an interesting center lead. So an awful lot of that falls to Elle Fanning, and she's terrific. She really is very enjoyable.
Yeah.
And she's got some secrets. She's got some character. She's got some spunk and all that kind of stuff. So it does make it's well put together. And I would say that it just becomes it is passable as an epic movie, because I really do feel that I'm sick and tired of just jaw-dropping special effects and action sequences that have taken 15 weeks to render on a computer before they can put it out in the cinema. And I really miss the 1970s, where you get Vanishing Point with real car stunts and daring do. Now insurance doesn't allow that to happen. Instead, you have to have punch-ups on green screen. But yeah, it was entertaining and engaging, and I don't hate it in any stretch of the imagination. And I will possibly watch it again one day, but it'll be for a reason rather than because I want to.
Yeah, we'll probably twist your arm to watch it for Projector Room when we've all forgotten this. It's years later, and we'll say, "Oh, didn't we do this before?" What are you going to score it out of 15?
I'm on the fence between 7 and 8. Every time I go to put 7, I think, no, it's a wee bit better than that, but it's not an 8. It's not a 7, but it's not an 8. It's not a 7. It's a bit 7, 8, 7, 8. That's what the kids will be saying. It's all 7, 8.
Mm-hmm. So,
I'll go with the 8 because Ellie Fanning. Yeah.
Okay, so that gives it 18, which puts it right in the middle of our leaderboard, completely centre.
No, it doesn't. 15 would be right in the middle. It's slightly above the middle.
No, on the leaderboard.
Which the film is. It's a wee bit better.
Yes. So anyway, I think that Chad would probably put it higher than that. So anyway, thanks for your input, Chad, and your audio review, and we'll move forward with something else. Right. Moving forward with something else, we have got you to choose our next private screening for the show A-Coming. So what have you chosen?
Well, that'll be right. And I left it out of the show notes for good reason. I have the Blu-ray beside me because it only just arrived, and I've put it in now so you can see what it is. And I will tell the listeners as you realize what exactly this is. It's called Sorority Babes in the Slime Ball Bowl-orama.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's a classic. I haven't seen it since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, which I'm sure a lot of people will go, what? You watched this when you were very young? I must have been about 13 or 14 the first time I saw this on video, and I thought it was great. Yeah, and it's just had a lovely Blu-ray release from 101 Films with the first and the second film, because there is a sequel to it.
Oh, it's a horror.
On the same days. So, well, I'd say it's a comedy first, horror
okay.
second.
At least it's not. At least it's not just a comedy.
No, it's not. Yeah. But I think you'll probably quite enjoy it because it's that kind of 80s madness that you love.
Yes.
And there's plenty of chicks in their underwear.
I'm going to hate it. But let's not prejudge. I might think it's absolutely great. Anyway, we'll come back to the next show and do that. In the meantime, theme treats time now, and you were the person to choose something for us to watch last time. So what was it?
Well, I picked, and digging up the trivia, I needed to do a bit of trivia digging to see why I hadn't seen this film in such a long time, or for such a long time, and it seems to really only be coming about now. And the film's theatrical release was delayed for 14 years in Australia due to the distributor going bankrupt and having legal issues. So that might be why it's not as well known as it should be. But I spent years trying to track this down purely on the basis of that front cover of the VHS. It's called Dark Age from 1987, and it is an Australian horror adventure film about a massive saltwater crocodile terrorizing a local community. It reviewed surprisingly well whenever you go to the likes of Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes, and it is essentially a Jaws-inspired creature film based on a novel by Graham Webb called Numunwari.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the Aboriginal
So you can't say
name
it's
for
Jaws.
the thingy, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
But you can't say it's a full Jaws rip-off because it is based on something else. And yes, it does take a few notes from Jaws. If you like Jaws, this is a crocodile-y type version of it. That is, well, I think Quentin Tarantino was a big fan of this film, so I don't know if that will float many people's boats, or if they'll get taken down and rolled on the bottom of the river. Ted, what did you make of it?
I shall read from my notes. I thought that the acting was poor.
Well, the listeners can't do that.
No, but I can. The acting was poor, wooden, and comes across like a typical 1980s TV episode from some low-budget series. The script is appalling. The beast looks very plasticky and rubbery throughout. The child being eaten, I thought, was probably the most shocking bit, even though it was clearly a doll. As everyone, well, I think that everyone was just expecting it to escape. As the creature came towards the child, you just thought, any second he's going to be snatched away to safety. But no, he was chomped up. And that there's a crossover there between the Jaws thing as well, which is the fact that there's a mother on the beach that has lost her son in the same way. The attacks throughout, apart from that one, I thought were fairly lame and tame, and there wasn't really much violence and horror in that. It wasn't done in the same suspenseful way that Jaws was. I quite liked some of the music, but some of the music kind of went away into 1980s TV land towards the end, I thought. The Aboriginal sounding music I thought was quite good and obviously native to what the people were doing. Or who they were, rather. Very nice scenery and shots throughout. Then we have these yobbo poachers who have got no intention of following the rules, littering everything and doing what they like. And then we've got the orderly ranger who's following the rules, and the contrast between the two is very clear. There's loads of racism going on with regards to the Aboriginal people, especially from the yobs, but also from the politically aware bloke in charge of the Rangers and the police. He was like the mayor in Jaws, more interested in tourism than kind of doing the right thing and making sure that the town survives, sort of thing. Then we've got this period in the show which lasts for about 10 minutes where we have this pointless and tedious backstory of the ranger and his wife they're estranged, and just in order to get a bedroom scene in and get her knockers out, they get together and have sex, and it's like, oh, right, okay, and it's just like, why have you put that scene in? It's just so pointless. Anyway, the editing was ruthless, cutting from scene to scene, sometimes not even the time it took for someone to walk across the room. It was just like they were there, gone. So anyway, yeah. Then we've got all this superstitious claptrap going on where, you know, the Aborigines were saying that boy was killed because of the spirits, knowing that he had a lung condition, that sort of thing. But anyway, yeah. Back to Jaws, and it's a monster hunt. The animal is a mindless killing machine which needs to be destroyed, blah, blah, blah. Even the end scenes on the boat are similar. It's not a big boat, it's a small boat, but they get harpoons in it, and the harpoon cores drag the boat along, and it's just like, you know, as you were saying, Gareth, that they were trying to kind of, on the back of Jaws, do something similar, but they just missed all over the place, really. And it was just not as well done or suspenseful. Apparently, this is called Ozploitation. Yeah. With regards to Quentin Tarantino, I don't quite see the draw of this. I don't know why he liked this so much, but to be honest, I quite often think that about what he likes. Like, for example, Japanese animated violence stuff that he was really into, and let influence films like Kill Bill, for example. Yeah, I mean, just because Quentin Tarantino likes it, I'm not quite sure that that's particularly a stamp of this is brilliant. But it was okay. It just felt like a bit kind of 80s and, just not very well done. And then you've got Jaws.
Well, fair dues, but somewhat critical of it, but I guess I expected that from you. No, it was directed by a man called Arch Nicholson, who directed Fortress a couple of years before that with Rachel Ward, and didn't have a huge career or anything, but he was actually I didn't know this, but he was the second unit director on Razorback, which was another Jaws-inspired killer pig movie, or boar, suppose that better to say a boar. That was made a couple of years prior to this, so that it's that's a classic Australian killer creature film, and I would say this is not quite up to Razorback, but it's actually still quite engaging. I did enjoy this, not to the extent that Jaws, and maybe Jaws 2 would still be slightly more enjoyable than this, I would say. But the film, it closely follows the Jaws formula, but it incorporates the whole Aboriginal Australian mythology thing about the saltwater crocodiles as sacred creatures, and that's a really interesting thing to add in, to give it sort of a unique flavour. And then there's where Jaws has it's kind of the two confluencing storylines. Confluence is where two rivers connect, so that's a pun here. There you go, pun people. This has three because you've got Steve the hero, who wants to study and relocate the crocodile, and then you've got the Aboriginal guy. Burrum plays him. I can't remember his name in the film, but and your girl Nikki Cockle, they want to they want to save the creature, and then you've got Max Phillips as the bonkers poacher who wants to kill a bastard. But Jarrett and Cockle eventually come together, and whenever their confluences come together, the whole thing starts to take on a linear storyline, was as you would expect. The guy from Home and Away, isn't it? Ray Meagher, who plays Alf in Home and Away. He plays the town mayor, and he doesn't do a Murray Hamilton. He's a lot more intense and a lot more gnarly and things like that, and to the point. But I'd say that I think all the actors do a pretty good job, and John Jarrett, who plays Steve, the hero Steve, who's the guy from Wolf Creek, with the big knife, the psycho killer in Wolf Creek. Okay. I quite enjoyed him in the lead. I thought he was quite. He was a bit bland, I suppose, but he was functional, and he did his stuff. And the love interest thing that's thrown in, I do agree that didn't need to be there, but I suppose it just gives the film a wee bit more body where there's a lack of body, perhaps. David Gulpillier from Walkabout, he turns up as well, and he's got a decent wee role too. But it's Max Phillips who plays the unhinged poacher. He played Toady in The Road Warrior. The guy who gets his fingers cut off by the boomerang. He's fantastic. He's great fun. It's just funny seeing how his character goes from fairly normal looking to, he's sheet white, his arms cut off, and his eyes are bleeding, and he's just salivating at the mouth because he's just so unhinged by the end of the film. He's terrific fun. I really enjoyed his role here. But the animatronic crocodile doesn't look great. It works, I suppose, but it does look a bit rubbery and a bit tacky. But I guess they tried to shoot it in the same way that Spielberg shot the shark in Jaws. There's limited shots of it, and you just see eyes here and there and bits of it. You never really see the whole thing in one big shot. See for a couple of times where it has to be shown, but they hold back on showing it because it just doesn't look that great. But it does help build the suspense, and it is novel that it's not the big killer creature that you're expecting that you get in Jaws, where this shark is out to kill people. This creature needs to be respected, and taking that aspect and then sticking in a bit of excitement around that and inventing a few action sequences and stuff like that where they're trying to save the crocodile, that makes for a more interesting film rather than just a Jaws knockoff. Because you've got Jaws if you want to just see them taking down this big creature, or this is more. It's got something else to do during the runtime, and I think that's something that a lot of people don't give it credit for. But there's some real attempts to address the Aboriginal and the white culture tensions that Australia has suffered from, and you see it in a lot of these films from around this time period. But this doesn't do it well. It tries to, but then it's got that whole noble white man savior type thing that they throw into. Because they can't save themselves, they need Steve to be there to save the day, and that climactic chase sequence is really frustrating. Where there's a truck chase with a car chasing after them. They keep crashing into stuff to build tension, and it's just embarrassing. It's like, what's going to happen next? How are they going to get stuck next? And then once one gets stuck, the other gets stuck. And then they've got to move on because they can't have one chasing the other and then catching up. They've got to have something befalling the chasees. And it just becomes really annoying. It's like Wacky Races, if anything. And it just doesn't need to be done. In the end, it's a fairly decent killer animal film, from the 80s. It's got decent atmosphere. The cinematography I thought was rather good, and the pacing was quite good. But it throws in that kind of cultural dimension that not a lot of films around that time actually dared to do. But you're right. Jared is a bit bland as the protagonist, and the attitudes, I suppose, are a wee bit weak whenever it comes to him being the savior. But no, I still enjoyed it. It was all right. I'm glad to have seen it now, but I can't say I'll return to it.
The biggest message, I think, was about the racism. It was just right throughout. Everyone was just, well, not everyone, but most people, particularly authoritative figures, were just really racist, including that.
Sexism too. Yeah.
Particularly those yobbos, they were just really badly behaved. Like they come off the set of "I'll Spit on Your Grave," so or similar. Anyway, it was certainly very interesting to watch, and a good pick indeed for our themed treats. Right, I'm going to pick for next time, not a film. We've done 2 films so far, but I'm going to choose a genre or a style or whatever you want to call it, and that is cannibalism. So the job is here to pick something,
tasty.
To pick something interesting that is going to be to do with
something to get our teeth into.
Yeah, exactly, and that'll be good fun, I think. So cannibalism next time, and and it's a broad brush, so there's so many things that you can pick to do with that, and bring it on.
Okay, all right. Right in with your complaints.
Yes. Right. The main feature, I'm going to do dangerous animals. We did this. We definitely did this in Coming Soon, very recently.
That's right.
And it's about this this guy who is a bit of a Fruit Loop, who is in Australia or off of Australia, and it turns out that he's a bit of a Dexter character because he's a serial killer, but it's slightly different because he collects women and he locks them up in his boat, and when the time is right for him, he sets up his camera and he cuts a lock of their hair and puts it in this box, just like Dexter used to with the blood, and gets this collection of trophies. but he sets up this camera so that the camera is filming off the back of the boat. He's got these tied up women who he's abducted from out in the community, and in the basement, the bottom of the boat, and they're chained to these iron beds until he's ready, and he gets them one by one, and then he starts the video recorder going to make his very own snuff movie, because what he's doing is he's winching these women up and then chucking a load of blood and gore into the water to get the sharks around, and then filming them being eaten by the sharks. And it's all
lovely.
It's all very, it's kind of tongue in cheek, but there are times when I think it takes itself a little bit too seriously. It's like, they're trying to make it into a serious serial killer film, but it really shouldn't be. It should be just like tongue in cheek and actually more Dexter like. So that's about it, really. And, depending on whether you are drawn to that kind of genre of film, it will reflect whether you like it or not. It's really not. It's not bad. It's not brilliantly acted. But it's half decent. It kind of delivers. The acting is generally pretty good from the main leads. And I didn't know any of them. Hassie Harrison, Josh Houston, Ella Newton and Jai Courtney. I think I know Jai Courtney. But the script...
Die Hard.
Oh, right, okay. So, yeah, I thought I knew the name. So, the script is not too bad. The sound is good. Lots of interesting music going on. And, yeah, I suppose yet another film that is kind of Jaws-ish, because, that a mix between Dexter and Silence of the Lambs and Jaws, which is pretty good. Survival is the key, though. We follow along suspensefully at times towards the climax and the grand finale, which I won't tell you about, as it's a big spoiler. But you can probably imagine what's going to happen. There are a few gory special effects. So when the women that end up in the drink get eaten, there are some interesting special effects, and they're done well enough. But actually, there's one scene which has nothing to do with sharks, which I had to turn away from. Talking about gore and special effects, I won't tell you what it is, but when it comes around, you'll know exactly what it is if you watch this. And I couldn't. My head was turning away from the screen. It was a real moment of, oh no. So watch out for that one. So yeah, it's all about the monster. Mm-hmm. So in Jaws, the monster was the shark, and I think the simile here was that the monster here, the dangerous animal, was the guy who was the serial killer, who is called Tucker. But it's well worth a look, and I think we were right when we had it in coming soon. We both kind of thought, yeah, that looks all right. We'll have a go at that, and it's not going to win any awards or anything. And at times it's a bit kind of daft and plot holes and stuff. But I think it holds itself together, and it's a decent watch and really good fun. And yeah, I think the only improvement that could be made is if it didn't quite take itself quite so seriously. We need the tongue further in the cheek, I think. But yeah, recommended.
Right, okay. But it's dangerous animals, plural, as opposed to singular. Jai Courtney, there's only one of them.
The dangerous animals are also in the water, of course. And the dangerous animal...
And the people who watch his films.
No. You could say that. The snuff movies. I mean, nowhere in the film does it say what he does with those movies. And I'm assuming that he just collects them like Dexter does for his own enjoyment. We do see him watching them. When he's sitting having a beer in the evening, we do see him putting them on randomly and watching them. So yeah, it's very dark and it's very unsettling in a sense, but it just felt like quite good fun to me.
Okay, yeah. I'd like to check it out. It's got sharks in it, so it's interesting.
Right, what have you bought?
Stuff without sharks, but still has animals in it. Killer animals. Over the last number of months, I've been watching through the Planet of the Apes series, and I think it went under my radar, but maybe we featured it on Coming Soon. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is the most recent one, and the fifth, I think, in the new series.
Yeah, I think we talked about this, didn't we? It was good.
Or Kingdom, isn't it? Oh, maybe it's the fourth.
Okay.
But at any rate, these four films are of a very high standing.
Yeah,
I'm really quite impressed by them because they are very good. And this one carries on. I suppose I could use the same criticism that I used for Predator Badlands on this because it's 90% CGI. There are a couple of human actors in there as well, but the majority of it is all CGI. But blow me if it's not absolutely brilliant. Don't blow me. Sorry, bit busy and married. The characters' facial models are absolutely superb.
Yeah,
you know, there's a orangutan, I think, called. I don't want to offend any monkeys by misgrouping them, but I think he's an orangutan called Raka, and there's a few moments where they actually, you know, they animate his face to make him react to something someone said, and you just realize what a wonderful world we are in, where we're getting to see animals do this. And you know, it's obviously you've got Babe, and you've got all the big animal movies over the years, and we're still going with that. And there is a necessary need for CGI to be able to produce something like this because you need that. You can't go back to Congo and have an animatronic monkey that looks crap. It works, and the technology is there to be able to deliver exciting and engaging performances. The action in this is superb as well. It really is very exciting, and that's what kept me going. I wasn't terribly enthusiastic about watching this because the first three were good. I didn't want this one to be bad because I'd heard from so many people, or I hadn't heard from anyone whether this was good or bad, or even had they seen it, which makes it a bit different because you're going into this blind without knowing, oh, this is crap, I have to try and find something in it. You're breaking new wind, so to speak. This is it's good. I'm really impressed by it. The plot line is fairly standard. You know, it's a son looking to appease his father and steps up and takes on maturity and things like that, and ends up leading the fight. We've seen that countless times before, and they inject some human characters who are dangerous animals, to be quite honest, and it all is in this post-apocalyptic world where things are collapsing. You know, the opening moments where they're climbing old skyscrapers that are falling apart to try and find eggs from a hawk is exhilarating because it's that kind of level of detail that you want to see. And again, it did feel very computer gamey, but you just get lost in it. You do. You start to really enjoy it because it's your home planet. Predator Badlands is a wee bit different because it's a planet far away with constant CGI creatures and things like this. Here, the horses are real. The trees are real. The buildings are something you can relate to. There's not too much in the way of fantasy nonsense going on that requires to be computer rendered. And whenever we eventually get to the climax is so big and exciting, without needing to feel like it's trying to take on competition at the box office. It's a big, exciting climax, and I really appreciated it. It's a good film. Have you seen this at all?
I reviewed it on this show when I first saw it, and I think it was my main feature or something back then, and I remember reporting then that it was really good, and I'd enjoyed the whole series, a bit like you, and I remember saying that very similar things to you. This is really good. It's a good show. It's good fun, and it's really interesting to see what they've done with it. So I think that, like you, all of those modern Planet of the Apes films have been done really well and are worth watching in sequence if you haven't.
Yeah, they have, because if you think back to the Charlton Heston ones, things started falling apart with the second one, where he didn't want to come back, and they ruled out his character and replaced him with James Florentino. I can't remember his last name, because he looked a bit like him, in that kind of George Lazenby kind of way. So everything started going to tatters and getting cheaper and cheaper as they went on, and they're all right, but you have to have a desire to watch them. If the youth of today was to sit down and watch them, they would think they were really rubbishy and hokey, whereas these can maintain a very high standard, and the scripts are good enough that they can stand on their own, and also they can lead together into a good big franchise, which is really difficult to do. And I think we're starting to see more and more where a franchise is actually maintaining a higher level rather than just being that same old, we've done a good one, we can do a crap one, and then we'll do another good one. Like the Star Trek philosophy where, every odd one is bad, I think it is. Whereas this is just a consistently good, big, enjoyable sci-fi caper.
Yep,
I like it, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Wes Ball is going to be making a fifth one as well.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
I'm just noticing it's 2 hours and 25 minutes long. I did not notice that. Oh, okay. Wow. I thought it was like maybe 140 or an hour and 40, maybe pushing 2 hours. Never figured that.
Right. Cool.
And I also wanted to throw out just a wee mention that I'd tracked down and watched Hunting Season, the new one from Mel Gibson, because I have a wee bit of a penchant for Mel Gibson. I do like his films, and I enjoy seeing Mad Mel doing mad things, and just he's genuinely a solid lead. Hunting Season is quite good. It's a really simple little tale that asks some questions at the start, and then it delivers some answers at the end. In between time, you get some tense, exciting moments, and a little bit of drama here and there, a little bit of character exposition. You get, you have some fun, and I think it's actually a surprisingly good, I think, direct-to-video Mel Gibson title. It might have hit theaters. I don't think it did, or went straight to streaming. It's on Amazon Prime if you want to watch it there. But it worked quite nicely. By the time the climax comes around, you're ready for a bit of a big shootout, and Mel picking up a gun and going in and sorting out the baddies, and he does that with a plume. So yeah, have you seen this or heard of it? We put it in coming soon, didn't we?
We did, yeah. Yeah, it looks all right. It was interesting to see Charlotte from Ozark in there. I don't think I've seen her. I can't remember her name now, but I don't think I've seen her in anything since Ozark. So that was quite interesting. I don't
think she has. Well, actually, I forgot. I should have mentioned. My wife actually left this film halfway through because she thought that the villain in it was properly evil.
Oh right, the bloke with the mask on, presumably. In the trailer there was a bloke with a kind of clown's mask on. He did look a bit sinister.
I don't actually think that's him. I think that's just one of his men. But it's Jordi Molay, who is you'll know him from Blow and Bad Boys 2. I think he's the villain in Bad Boys 2 as well. He's also in Riddick, and that Kevin Costner one, Criminal, that was quite good. But yeah, my wife was like, he's properly evil. I don't like him at all. And she left. It's like, Flip me. I think that's high praise for a villain role.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right, okay, I'll
check it out.
I should track that one down, yeah, now that it's out and about on Amazon Prime Video. Right, coming soon. Let's hear about what you've picked for us this time.
Okay, the first one is Undertone. It's a horror film about podcasts. Ooh, ooh, ooh. A podcast host covering spooky content moves in to care for her dying mother. When sent recordings of a pregnant couple's paranormal, when she is sent, there's a word missing there. When she is sent recordings there's another word. No, it's not. It's there. Of a pregnant couple's paranormal encounters, she discovers their story parallels with hers. Each tape pushing her toward madness. This looks rather fun, I think. Ted, what did you think?
Yeah, it looks great. We love A24 stuff, and this is another A24 title, and it looks like this will be no exception. It looks fabulously spooky. It looks really well produced from the trailer, nicely shot, and yeah, an intriguing mystery. Spooky, intriguing mystery. I can't wait. This looks really good.
Yes, it does indeed. The next one is Whistle. This is about a misfit group of unwitting high school students who stumble upon a cursed object, an ancient Aztec death whistle. They discover that blowing the whistle and the terrifying sound it emits will summon their future deaths to hunt them down. It sounds kind of fun. A wee bit of that Final Destination flair that Ted dislikes so much, but I think this actually looked effective enough. Ted?
Yeah, this is a Shudder title, which again we often look at Shudder titles and think, yeah, they're actually not badly made, and they're not low budget particularly. I mean, it may not quite look as good looking as the Undertone one, the first one, but still, it looks great. It looks spooky and thrilling and mysterious. So yeah, good stuff. 2 out of 2 for you so far.
Yes, we're getting a bit trenched in horror films here. I do apologize for that, but it's what just happened upon my YouTube. The next one is, well, I have to do this because he's a fellow countryman. Lee Cronin's The Mummy, which there's a teaser that has just been launched for the film, which is going to be arriving on April 17th. A young daughter of a journalist disappears into the desert without a trace. 8 years later, the broken family is shocked when she is returned to them as what should be a joyful reunion turns into a living nightmare. Now, this is Lee Cronin, who did Evil Dead Rise recently. Wasn't it Evil Dead Rise? Yeah. Well, he's a very, very decent horror writer. Do you remember Hole in the Ground?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I do, yeah.
That was another of his masterpieces. So I'm very excited. And Oddity. Didn't he do Oddity?
I haven't seen that yet. That's on my list, but...
No, he didn't do Oddity.
Okay.
But someone else, one of these trailers was also directed by the Oddity director, and I can't remember which. Okay. Possibly Whistle, possibly Undertone. Can't remember. What did you think of this?
The trailer is really a teaser, and there's not a lot given away. But the style of it looks really good. I'm drawn to, what they're trying to do here. I think with this spooky horror again, and it does look as though just from a teaser trailer, it does look as though it's quite well made. Which, from what you're saying about Lee Cronin, perhaps that would make sense. So yeah, I'm up for this totally. So you got 3 out of 3 so far. Well done.
Don't worry. We won't carry on with this. Not doing too well anymore. I had to put this in because it's got the best title ever. Space Goblins. Yeah. So, having been living off grid for the last decade, bounty hunters Gib and Gob find themselves being called back into action for what could be Their Very Last Assignment. This is billed as a live-action reimagining sequel and also prequel to the original animated film Space Goblins, which I don't think anyone's seen, but it's got 9.3 out of 10 on, it's 28 minutes, a short sci-fi animation from 2020. It's got 9.3 out of 10 on IMDb. So they've gone and made a feature film version of it that I guess people must be excited about. What did you make of this weird trailer?
I'm not sure, really. The creatures in it look very imaginative, and you can see how it could have come from a cartoon or an animation. But we certainly see plenty of that girl being carried around, don't we? And no doubt more.
Yes.
But yeah, I didn't really get the backstory to this, the Space Goblins thing, and it doesn't seem as though you know it either. Previous film, animation. Perhaps we should do our homework and have a look and see what the back end of this is.
I did mean to, but I completely forgot about it up until I saw it about 3 minutes ago. Yeah, but it does actually look kind of fun, although the trailer did have a real whiff of AI about it. A real whiff.
Yeah.
Next up is Shelter. A recluse on a remote Scottish island rescues a girl from the sea, unleashing a perilous sequence of events that culminates in an attack on his home, compelling him to face his turbulent history. This stars Jason Statham, Bill Nighy, and Daniel Mays. And it's a slam-bam, one-man army action film with Jason Statham leading the way, doing what he's done 76 times before over the last couple of years. But it's got Bill Nighy and Daniel Mays in it, so it's got a decent supporting cast. What did you think of this one?
I thought it looked all right. An all-action, high-octane thriller, like you say. It looks like it's kind of based with a British cast and in Britain, and everyone's frightfully British. But yeah, you're right. It's Scottish. The He-Man at the centre of the story is obviously what it's about, and yeah, it may be a good little fun thrill ride, I suppose. So, yeah, that looks all right.
I've got a funny feeling, and this might be a bit of a spoiler, but I think his character is probably not going to speak very much and have a gruff voice to him.
Yes, very likely. The little girl in the mix.
Not going to talk like this.
No. The girl in the mix in the trailer might make it slightly different, I suppose, but maybe not. I don't know. We shall see.
Yeah. Finally, Dad, I missed this, but I'm very excited about this.
The For All Mankind is returning. They have put a very short teaser trailer out, but it's only about 25 seconds long, I think. So it doesn't really do anything. It shows this somebody riding a motorcycle over the Mars landscape. Anyway, For All Mankind, season 5, returning to Apple TV, starting on the 27th of March. It runs for 10 episodes. Weekly on a Friday. Ed Baldwin is back, being played by Joel Kinnaman still. Other returning cast members include Edai Gatigi, Coral Pina, and Ren Schmidt. Good grief. I watched all of For All Mankind, and the only name I know there is Joel Kinnaman. Anyway, there's some new players coming in as well, so I think we generally all quite like following For All Mankind. Certainly Alan did. He was all over this, wasn't he?
I don't think so. It was me who was all over this. I love this show. Okay. Although Chantel Van Santen is gone from it, but a bit like Game of Thrones, it swaps out its cast quite frequently and in very dramatic fashion as well. So not everyone's safe. Right. I think that's one of the things I very much like about it. But it's based in an alternate reality where the Russians made it to the moon first or something. I can't even remember now, actually. It's been a while. And there's all kinds of tussling going on, and guns on the moon and guns on Mars and things.
It was done quite well. I think the first 2 seasons were really, really, really good. And as with most things, that kind of pace and quality fell off a bit as we went forward.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's still very enjoyable, and I look forward to seeing more. Another 10 episodes, please. Thank you very much.
Yes, indeed. Before we go, the final curtain, we have 2 people that of note that we want to highlight that have not made it through the last fortnight. So who are... I don't know this first one, I'm afraid.
There's something wrong with you. We've lost Marcus Gilbert, who passed away at the age of 67. A hero of mine. He was Arthur in Army of Darkness. He was also in RoboCop 3 and Dark Angel, and he did a few episodes of Doctor Who, and he was in that Jilly Cooper's Riders thing that I've got a funny feeling you liked. He was a British character actor who... Yes.
I don't remember watching that. Anyway, go on.
Oh, do you? It was a whole thing, I remember it being on, because it was rude on ITV, and all the couples were tuning in to see it. But he was a frequent face on British television. I've just noticed he was in Biggles as well. I don't remember him in Biggles, that movie they made in 1986, which I'll probably have to go back and revisit then, actually. But yes, I best know him for Army of Darkness, in which he plays King Arthur and has to put up with Bruce Campbell's witticisms throughout that movie. And he passed away with throat cancer on January the 11th there.
Rambo 3?
Yes, Rambo 3. And also... back in 86, whenever Moore left and they were casting for Living Daylights and Brosnan didn't work out, or it might have just been before they selected Brosnan, but I believe he was third in line after Dalton and Sam Neill to take over the role.
Right. I was 4,022,000 in line.
Were you? Oh wow. Right. I wasn't in line. I was 7.
No, I can't find anything else that I know him from. Sorry, but I'm sure that he will be very much missed by you.
Yeah. Next up is Mark Jones, who passed away at the age of 72. Very well-known writer from the Leprechaun series. He wrote Leprechaun 1, Leprechaun 2, Leprechaun 3, Leprechaun 4 in space, Leprechaun in the Hood, which is also known as Leprechaun 5, Leprechaun 6, Back to the Hood, Leprechaun Returns, and Leprechaun Revenge. Quite a filmography.
Wow.
He was a TV writer back in the 80s, working on the likes of Mr. T and cartoons and Hunter. And he wrote 25 episodes of the A-Team, actually. Misfits of Science, Werewolf, The Highwayman, Police Academy series. That was the animated one, yeah. James Bond Jr. and Superboy. But Ted, you know him from something that you've watched recently.
To be honest, you introduced me to this guy by telling me about the whole Leprechaun thing, and I've got the Leprechaun films lined up, and I never got round to watching them. But the one that I homed in on this week when I heard about this sad event was Rumpelstiltskin, and I thought to myself, I'll go and have a look at this, because I was able to watch it on one of the streaming services, and so I did a review of it, and it's completely bonkers, and it jumps between so many genres, and it's just completely mad. I won't go into detail about it because we haven't got time here now, but I'll link to my review in the show notes so you can read what I thought about it. But yeah, he's one of these guys that you follow who's just has had lots of fun with making kind of low budget, off the wall, tongue in cheek, having a laugh with comedy horror, it's very sad that we don't have him still doing that. When did he work up to? Do we know?
Quite recently. I was on there. There was a Superman thing, Superman Reborn in 2024, and Leprechaun Revenge
2025
due out this year.
Yeah.
I was just having a look at Rumpelstiltskin there, and there's a classic quote from it. "Fucketh me."
It's really quite funny. The character has been created very interestingly, and I remember Rumpelstiltskin as this Ladybird book when we were kids in the 1960s, and it was just one of the books we had. But looking back at it now, it's a really dark, sinister tale. A lot of the fairy tales that we were allowed to be involved with when we were kids in the 1960s, in my case. You think it's all a bit dubious. I'm not sure if kids would be allowed to have that in their book collection now. Anyway,
Rockabye Baby.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah, you got the idea. Mark Jones, 72 anyway. We may come back to Rumpelstiltskin on a show when we got more time, which we don't have now because we're running long, so let's call it a day there, and we'll be back in 2 weeks' time with another round of stuff. GarethMyles.com is where you'll find Gareth and all he does and all his lovely reviews that he churns out. You can find similar with me at tedsalmon.com and via into my blog. Projectorroom.co.uk is our website where you'll find links to all the stuff we've been talking about today, and the Projector Room MeWe group is where you'll find your opportunity to chip in and tell us what you've been watching, and so we can bring it to shows going forward. If you get lost, though, it's all on tedsalmon.com and also at PodHub UK. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch up with you next time in a fortnight's time in the Projector Room.